And welcome to the Cardinals Nest here on HBC TV 25. This is the sports show devoted exclusively to St. Mary's University and its athletic programs. I'm Dean Beckman, joined by Donnie Netto. Donnie is the Sports Information Director for St. Mary's. And Donnie, a little bit later on in the program, we're going to be welcoming in Ward Berndt. Ward is the men's and women's cross-country coach, and they just got back from Eau Claire, and they'll be heading to La Crosse in a couple of weeks. So they're kind of right in the middle of the throes of their cross-country season.
Yeah, absolutely. The seasons are kind of winding toward the tail end, and as Coach Berndt always says, it's those 2 weekends in late October and early November that are the most important. And it'll be nice to kind of get a gauge from him in terms of where he feels they are. And I want to ask him a little bit about his scheduling, because he does have a specific idea and plan for his athletes in terms of how they schedule their meets and their time for training. So I'm looking forward to that middle segment. And
then also a little bit later on, Ricky Palermo will be talking with Caroline Blackwood and putting Caroline in our student-athlete spotlight. She's one of the captains for the women's soccer team, and we'll learn more about Caroline.
Yeah, and talk about a person who knows how to juggle things. Caroline has had a remarkable soccer career, but that's really only part of her life at St. Mary's, and it is a very busy life for her.
Indeed, and it's been busy for a lot of teams. We're in early October, and some of the fall sports teams, Donnie, have now concluded the season. Most of them are still going, but men's and women's golf had the MIAC championships this past weekend.
Yeah, and it was kind of a mixed review, I think, from Coach Moore when I talked to him in regards to the MIAC championships. Both teams finished in 10th place, and I know Coach Moore was hoping that the teams would be able to make a little bit more of a jump up the conference ladder, but some very solid scores. You certainly got to tip your cap to a great career from Blake Westerberg, one of the seniors on the men's team. 3 straight 79s. I guess you can call him a model of consistency at the conference championships. 7 over par 79s each day. And I know that, in the past, I think we'd be really excited for somebody to turn in 3 rounds in the 70s, but for the season that they've had and the expectations that they continue to build, I think that they would have liked to seen the scores a little bit lower. But again, what a great career for Blake, and I know Coach Moore is going to certainly miss him next year. He closed out his career with the 3rd lowest career scoring average at just over 78 per round, and so a great career for Blake, and really for some of the other guys, a really exciting kind of springboard, hopefully, to their upcoming seasons. Brett Jackson had 2 really solid rounds in the 70s, the last 2 rounds of the conference championships, and David Eiton played well, and Kyle Brote did a nice job, and so I think that the future is certainly bright. But I know that if you ask Coach Moore, he's certainly going to miss Blake, and not only his leadership from a scoring standpoint, but it's just his leadership as a person and somebody who the rest of the team certainly would want to emulate.
I mean, he sort of leaves St. Mary's as one of the best men's golfers of all time, right?
No question. Like I said, with the 3rd best career scoring average, you've got to go back 10 years to Eric Tom and Jesse Polk, and they're the top 2 scoring leaders, and so I think Blake definitely left a name for himself, and I think more than anything, just the way he carried himself on the course as well as off the course is going to be something that's going to be greatly missed.
Right, and you mentioned his expectations, but I think now with him graduating, the entire team's expectations will go up next year.
No question, and like we talked, the season that they had and the numbers that they were putting up heading into the conference championships, breaking 80 wasn't good enough anymore, and now they want to be in the mid 70s. And I think that for a lot of the younger golfers, they got to see what the rest of the conference really can do. And you look at Augsburg, they were like 20 over par as a team for the whole tournament, and so they certainly have some work to be done. But I think they've proven all season that they can put up some good numbers. It's now just a matter of being consistently doing that, and the good teams in the conference are doing that. They're shooting in the low 70s as a team. You're getting Augsburg, who their highest score was a 75. So you've got to get that consistency, and you've got to get those scores lower.
Now, St. Thomas won the women's championship And St. Mary's finished 10th. Caitlin Kling, this top Cardinals golfer.
Yeah, and you look at the Cardinal women's roster, and Caitlin Kling and Madison Gately have been the leaders all year, and they were again at the MIAC championships. And then you've got Haley Jung, the lone senior, and she had a great year as well, and turned in her 2 career best rounds in the meet before the conference championships with an 83 and an 81. So they certainly will miss her next year. But with Caitlin and Madison coming back for another year, and Madison turned in a couple of 85s, which are her career best rounds. So the numbers there are dropping as well. And in collegiate golf, that's what you need. You need to continue to get those numbers down. And if they can do that and do it consistently, Coach Moore is going to have his first year of recruiting under his belt. Coming up when we start the 2016 season. So, hopefully he'll bring in some more golfers, both on the men's and the women's side, and continue to build this program and build those expectations that they can climb up that conference ladder. And really, that's what he wants, and that's what the athletes want as well.
And we had Coach Moore on the Cardinals Nest last week, Donnie. He's really done a great job with these programs. His season ends now. He moves on to assist women's hockey, but he's done a fantastic job with both women's and men's golf.
No question. And like I said, the key now is going to be Greg is a fantastic recruiter. Not only is he a really great coach, but he's a fantastic recruiter. And as well as he recruits the women's hockey program, now we'll be able to see what he can do for the golf programs as well. He got the job late in the year this year, so didn't get to do a whole lot of recruiting, and now he'll be able to start building that team as he sees it fit, and I'm excited to see what he can do in that recruiting aspect.
Well, Donnie, Cardinals volleyball off to a 4-1 start in the conference, and they had 2 big home matchups Friday and Saturday at St. Mary's. And Saturday was a close one. They lose to St. Ben's 3-2. Really exciting matchup there. But they come back strong on Saturday and sweep Concordia.
Yeah, no question. When you talk about the top echelon of the conference, Concordia is there, St. Ben's is there, St. Mary's is there, and Mike Lester knew it was going to be a couple of crazy matches, and the interesting thing is they probably played better on Friday in the 3-2 loss than they did on Saturday in the 3-0 win. A great match against St. Ben's. St. Ben's moved into the top 25 in the AVCA poll this week after the win against St. Mary's, and then the win against St. Olaf the following day. And the Cardinals are receiving votes now, so people are starting to see that this is a very talented team. Take that tough loss, they turn around and really stuck it to Concordia with a 3-0 win, and absolutely a crazy match against Concordia. In the second set, St. Mary's scored the first 14 points. Coach Lester and I were kind of joking that in the old side-out scoring, they would have almost posted a 15-0 shutout, and that's something you just don't see. In the third set, they're down 24-17, and in rally scoring, any mistake, and they lose that match. They rattle off 9 straight points, and they win 26-24 in the third set. Just one of those matches that they were not going to be denied, and great way. They had senior day. Great way to kind of send off the seniors, even though there's a couple of home matches left. It was the last Saturday home match, so they had senior day, and always an emotional time, and it was great. Alex Peterson got the last kill in the third set as one of the seniors, and kind of a great way to send them off.
So they have the North Central Invitational this weekend, and then one more home game next Wednesday night when they take on Augsburg.
Yeah, what a crazy time. We talk about a big part of their schedule. The North Central Invitational, their final 2 matches against Carthage and Washington University out of St. Louis, both ranked in the top 10. In fact, Washington is ranked number 1 in the country. Carthage, who they'll play before they play WashU, is 11 in the country. And then Augsburg was beat St. Mary's in the conference semifinals a year ago, and they just dropped out of the poll, but had been ranked all season long. So a really tough stretch of opponents coming up for the Cardinals.
All right. In a little bit, we're going to be hearing more about Caroline Blackwood, one of the in our student athlete spotlight. She's the women's soccer captain, one of the women's soccer captains, and they had a loss this past week, a 3-1 loss. Yeah,
it was a tough loss, and I know that Coach Cassidy would have liked to have seen a better result out of that game, but they played well, and they've got to keep moving forward. And the nice thing, in a roundabout way, we've been talking a lot about a lot of St. Mary's women's soccer decisions have been by shutout, either a win or a loss. They've, 9 of their first 10 games were by shutout. And so they had one where they pulled even, 1-1, gave up 2 late goals in the second half, and came out on the short end. But as Caroline will say in her little segment, that the season is about half over. They're playing well. They've just got to find a way to get over the top.
Yeah. And also men's soccer, they lose a close matchup, but they fall to Concordia.
Yeah, that was a tough loss. Again, a match that could have gone either way. It's 1-1 until the final minute, and then they fall 2-1 on a goal in the last minute of the second half. And unfortunately for Coach Watkins, because they've been playing some very good soccer, they're 3-1-1 in their last 4 games, and so they're playing well. They've got, they stepped out of conference play on Wednesday, and then they're back into conference play on Saturday against Hamlin. A big match up there, and as Coach Watkins will tell you, every point in the conference is important, and right now they've got to, focus on Hamlin and coming away with 3 points rather than the 1 point that they had in their last 2 conference ties.
All right, stay tuned here to the Cardinals Nest. When we come back on HBC, we'll bring in Ward Berndt. He's the women's and men's cross-country head coach. That's next here on HBC.
From the very beginning, HBC has been a leader in advanced technology, community service, and customer care. We are proud of our local roots and hometown values, dedicated to making a difference. We understand how much our communities benefit by having world-class technology at their fingertips, and having local team members that live in the neighborhoods we serve helps HBC to keep in touch with the needs of each community in a very personalized way. We care about each community, and we are here to stay. Call 888-474-9995 and start experiencing the HBC difference today.
Want the latest news on St. Mary's University athletics? Watch the Cardinals Nest on HBC TV 25. Dean Beckman and SMU Sports Information Director Donnie Netto will talk about the past week in Cardinal athletics, highlighting the best in each Cardinal sports team. Player and coach guests will add their stories and insight each week with new shows Thursdays at 5 p.m. and replays Fridays at 6:30 p.m. and Saturdays at 7:30 a.m. on HBC TV 25.
We chose HBC because they're a local company. They have a big audience in Winona, which is the geographic group that we're looking for. Mel is very easy to work with. She's genuinely concerned about how our money is being spent, and she does everything she can to make sure we get the most for our money. She takes care of us. So whenever there's a problem, which is rarely, I know that I can go to her and she's going to take care of it.
To see how HBC advertising can help your company, call Melanie at 507-474-5802.
Join HBC Sports' Extra Point one-camera coverage of high school football and soccer throughout the fall, presented by Lewiston Auto. In addition to our Football Night Crew broadcasts, Extra Point will bring you 8 games from the gridiron and 9 games from the pitch. For the full slate of games, simply visit hbci.com/sports to find out when your team will be on the field. That's Extra Point coverage of HBC Sports presented by Lewiston Auto, all fall, only on TV 25.
And welcome back to the Cardinals Nest here on HBC TV 25. Dean Beckman, Donnie Netto, and Ward Berndt joining us now. Ward is the head women's and men's cross-country coach for St. Mary's. And Ward, welcome to HBC and the Cardinals Nest.
Thank you.
Donnie, he always kind of makes us feel bad. He actually runs down to the studio while we drive, right?
That's right. That's right. Coach, let's just talk a little bit before we get into any intricacies. Talk a little bit about the season so far. You're about at the midway point of the season. I know that the men's team is pretty experienced, and the women's team is a little less experienced. But talk a little bit about the season so far.
It's definitely been a tale of two teams here. Like I said, the women's team is very young. It's 6 freshmen, and all of them has the ability to contribute and kind of rotate through the top 5 positions. So it's been interesting seeing them sort of learn the 5K and 6K at the college level. And we've been at some pretty big meets too. So for freshmen to be exposed to 300 plus runners at the college level, they've actually handled themselves really well, but it's also been a little bit of a rude awakening, I think, for some. But they've done a really good job in the transitioning. On the guys' side, yeah, we definitely have a lot of experience. And it's been actually kind of fun now because Javon, he made it to nationals last year, and his trajectory right now is about the same as where it was last year. I think he's actually a little bit ahead of where he was. So I'm feeling pretty good where he's at. Austin O'Hare has closed the gap on him quite a bit this year, which is really kind of fun to see that too. So now those two are kind of working together too, and really should help our conference push a little bit and our regional push a little bit too, team-wise. So
you talk about Austin closing that gap. Is part of that because of the work that he put in the summer?
There's a couple things that go into that. For sure, it was work going into it, and we think there's probably vitamin deficiency going on last year, so we had a couple things we had to figure out with him too, and we got that squared away. He's running strong, he's looking good, and we'll see how the rest of the season goes with him.
You know, you talked about the youth on the women's team, but not a whole lot different on the men's side. Jace Pater is the only senior, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
It's I believe one senior and just two juniors.
Good. You know, Donnie and I have talked a little bit about Jace on the show this year. Really, you know, taking on that leadership role this year. Great guy, and I think somebody that the team really looks up to. Yeah,
it's been fun because he's been able to see my style for the last 4 years. He's really been able to relate that to what the team needs and be able to kind of speak for me sometimes too. So it's been fun to have his leadership and just his understanding of how I direct things too, to really kind of influence the rest of the team too.
You know, and you've got Allie Thiel on the women's side, and the interesting thing there is you're going to have a Thiel for 4 more years because her sister Erica is there as well. Talk about that dynamic a little bit in that you've got big sister, little sister on the same team.
I think it's been a good dynamic actually. There's just a sibling rivalry, there always is, but it's good, and because they push each other, and if each doesn't do well, they still cheer each other on, absolutely. I'm like, okay, next time I got you. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Erica got the better of Allie this time, but we'll see how Allie responds.
Is it a requirement on the women's side to have a sister tandem? I know you just graduated the Hayes twins, who you had for 4 years. I mean, is that something you need to do? Is have a pair of sisters on the team?
We talk about family traditions a lot here.
Ward, talk a little bit, especially on the women's side, because you were mentioning the distance of the race. But both races, anytime you have a freshman come in, the races are longer and there is a big adjustment. Talk a little bit about how you make that adjustment.
Well, Minnesota and Wisconsin actually just switched up to the 5K for women, so the adjustment isn't quite as big as it used to be. Typically what we do is we'd start off with a 5K, and then we'd move to a 6K within a race or two. This year, Notre Dame ended up being a 5K. We had to go to that race, but it was a 5K, so this first race is our 6K. We talk a lot about breaking it down into thirds, which I think is easy for them because in the 5K, 3 miles equals a mile each time. In the 6K, a third is 2K, and we just break it down that way. And the 2K for them seems to be a little bit more manageable, and they can really understand that and kind of control that environment a little bit better.
Let's talk about some of the individual meets you've been at this year. You're just coming back from Eau Claire, so we'll get to that in a minute. But tell us a little bit more about that meet at Notre Dame earlier this year. That had to be a great experience, and it sounds like it was a pretty big meet as well.
Yeah, it was a pretty big deal. It's a national Catholic championship, so any school who's Catholic in the U.S. can attend this meet. Division I, Division II, Division III, and AIA. There is not a lot of Division III schools that were there. We were one of a handful of schools that were there, so it was really kind of fun for them to see the whole Division I, Division II experience and be on that campus and really see how some of those programs operate. And it's always fun to look at Touchdown Jesus too. So,
yeah. For a lot of the runners, was it their first time on the campus and seeing it?
For most of them, it was. It had been. We tried to go every once in a while, but it had been about 4 or 5 years since we were there last. So everybody who was there for the first time. Right. So it was really fun for them.
Yeah, good. So this last meet in Eau Claire, Jovan Newsom again turning in a good performance. Tell us about some of the results from that and your thoughts from the Eau Claire Invitational.
Well, Jovan actually matched his time that he had from last year. Austin O'Hare took off 70 seconds, I believe, from the year before. 6 of our guys all had PRs, or course PRs or lifetime PRs at that course, which is pretty good. On the women's side, it was a lot of their first 6Ks in the season, especially for the freshmen. So we just really needed a starting point to see kind of where they're at. And I think we all walked away feeling like, we could have done better, but we're excited about what we can do now because we know we can be better and we know what we did that we need to improve on. So.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you this, and we've talked about this off camera a little bit, but when you train, when you practice, you don't just go out and run. Talk a little bit about how you train for a cross-country season from meet to meet, because it isn't just, hey, guys, go out and run.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you talked about a little about earlier segment. I like a 2-week cycle as much as we can. 8K and 6K tend to beat up the athletes a little bit too much if we come back compete too often. And we'd like to actually have some of that training time in there too. So the 2-week is just a good cycle that our team seems to like. Basically, our building points are, we start with volume. You can never get away with having a distance base underneath you. But then we kind of layer some other elements on there too. Tempo runs, threshold type runs too. And it's really more like a percentage base of what your volume is and where you're starting at. And each year we obviously want to build up a little bit more. So there's definitely some formulas and equations to it that we really go off of. And we have our training zones for each, dedicated for each type of one that we have too.
Ward, coming up on October 17th, you'll be back at the University of Wisconsin Lacrosse. Now that's an invitational that you attend regularly. It's the Jim Drews Tori Neubauer Invitational. So what are your expectations there, especially considering that's the last meet, and last invitational before conference championships?
Well, and what we talked about after the Eau Claire meet is we need to be able to compete harder coming in this next one. We didn't, I don't want to say we didn't take it serious, we definitely took Eau Claire serious, but we didn't push ourselves to see really where our limits were in this one. And now, Jim Drews, I think we have to. That's sort of our, we get to see conference schools. We really get to see some of the matchups now. And that's going to be a big barometer for us coming into the conference championships.
And spin it forward to the conference championships. Expectations, what would you like to see realistically from your teams at the conference?
The men's side, we're getting sick of 7th. We've been there 3 or 4 years in a row. Now we're getting sick of it. But I think we could 6th, 7th, 8th. I mean, I think that's probably pretty realistic where we're at. The women's side, we've been towards the bottom every year at the conference last 2 or 3 years. But we've changed roles between regionals and conference, between conference schools. So really our goal is at the conference meet, we need to beat our 2 or 3 of the conference teams that we sometimes beat at the regional meets.
Which teams on both sides, women and men, are expecting to be at the top, and which teams do you think you can kind of shoot for and look to surpass perhaps?
Well, St. Olaf on the men's side, they've been the perennial powerhouse for the last 2 or 3 years, national champs, national runners-up the last couple of years. And the Carleton women, I think, are ranked, well, they're ranked in the top 5 nationally for the women's side too. So those are 2 that are probably, you're going to look as the shoe-ins. For us on the guys' side, there's a few schools that are a little bit of a stretch for us. So we're probably looking at Bethel and Hamlin as schools that we're targeting as a group. And then McAllister's right on our heels right now. So if we take care of our business, we'll be in that pocket somewhere. If we run a really good race, we can move up a spot or 2. Sure. On the women's side, we're always kind of targeting St. Kate's, Augsburg, and Hamlin a little bit. Those always seem to be 3 schools that, no matter how good we are, it always seems like it's always those schools right in that mix there. So it should be good.
All right, good. Ward Berndt, thanks for coming in today. Good luck on October 17th in Lacrosse and then at the conference championships.
Thank you.
All right, stay tuned. We'll be back with more on the Cardinals Nest as Ricky Palermo will put Caroline Blackwood in our student athlete spotlight here on HBC.
At HBC, we know it's often the little details that the customer will remember, and that's why we are committed to being attentive in all facets of our business. We strive to provide industry-leading products and services, all while providing unparalleled personal care. HBC's customer service and technical support are provided locally within each service market and are available by phone or by visiting the local offices. Call 888-474-9995 and start experiencing the HBC difference today.
Tune in for the Sports Buzz every Tuesday at 5:30 as a panel of local sports journalists tackle the hottest topics on everything from local high school and collegiate sports to regional discussion about the Twins, Brewers, Vikings, and Packers. With the Power Play Fantasy Football Challenge to the Rant of the Week and NFL Pick'em, the Sports Buzz is fast-paced and sure to entertain. That's new episodes of the Sports Buzz every Tuesday at 5:30 with replays only on HBC TV 25.
We chose HBC because they're a local company. They have a big audience in Winona, which is the geographic group that we're looking for. Mel is very easy to work with. She's genuinely concerned about how our money is being spent, and she does everything she can to make sure we get the most for our money. She takes care of us. So whenever there's a problem, which is rarely, I know that I can go to her and she's going to take care of it.
To see how HBC advertising can help your company, call Melanie at 507-474-5802.
Look at the brows on that. That's a hog, man.
And we're back here on the Cardinals Nest, and it's time now for our Student Athlete Spotlight here on HBC TV 25. And this week, Ricky Palermo sits down with women's soccer captain Caroline Blackwood.
Being a student athlete in college is not something that should be overlooked. With practice, games, and off-season workouts, keeping good grades and a social life can be truly a challenge. Senior midfielder Caroline Blackwood does all that, plus 2 internships, studying abroad, being the captain of the soccer team, and maintains a very high GPA. So I sat down with her to find out just how she does it.
I'd say that through soccer I've really come to learn that time management is something you have to have. So I think being busy is just the way I function. I do so much better when I know I have this amount of time to do it. And other than that, I just think that when I want something, I'm a hard worker and I get it done. So studying abroad was a big dream I had, and I made it work. I made the classes work, I made the time for it, and I don't know, I just crossed it off the list.
Yeah, you were in Italy, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what was that experience like?
It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I miss it every day. It was nice coming home and seeing my family and having the comforts of home again, but there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about Italy or what I would be doing if I were there. Just awesome to see how other parts of the world live and the cultures I was exposed to. It was just really awesome.
This season's off to a better start than past seasons. You guys won your first conference game in 4 years in your career. So what was that like? What was that victory like?
I think my first thought when we won was just relief. It'd been such a long time coming, and it was just like a weight off of our shoulders that we could just move on from. So it was a hard game, though. We definitely fought for it. We really wanted to win, and I don't know, just it was the springboard for moving forward into the season. So.
Carol, how long have you been playing soccer?
Oh, I've been playing soccer since I can walk, I think. It's like the longest relationship I have is with soccer. It's stuck with me through everything. I dabbled in other sports, but soccer is the one that really stuck.
So what are you going to do when it's over? You've got how many games left? And then...
Yeah, it's definitely been on my mind. I don't know what it's going to be like not having to do off-season workouts or summer workouts or anything like that, but next semester I'll definitely be focused on graduation and getting a job. So.
Can you talk about the other seniors on the team and how your relationship with them has grown on and off the pitch?
So my freshman year, I think we started with 12 freshmen, and this year we're at 5 seniors. So there's been 5 of us who have consistently kept with the team, and just going through 4 years has been a way to build a relationship. There's Kelly, who I'm super close with. We're both captains, so that kind of just gives us a different element to our friendship on and off the field. Katie and Emily are awesome, and Bree, it's just a great dynamic. We're all friends on and off the pitch, and I don't know, it'd be so different without them here, so I'm really glad that we're here, and we're all from all over the state too, or from the country. 2 from Colorado, Minnesota, Michigan. I'm from Ohio, so it's kind of cool to have friends in different places.
Over your 4 years here, what has the evolution been like of this Cardinal program?
Our freshman and sophomore years were pretty difficult. We had no wins at all for 2 years, and then last year we finally had a few. So our program has definitely been in building mode, and I think that all of us who are in the program kind of signed up for that. So we knew, especially after the first year, that it was going to be tough. But I think our success so far this season has really paid off for all that, and that's what we signed up for. We knew it was a building program, and I don't know, we're ready to see the results this year.
Best of luck to the Cardinals women's soccer team this season, and again, thank you, Caroline. Dean Beckman, back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Ricky. And Donnie, I've had a chance to get to know Caroline in the classroom these past 4 years. She's a public relations major, and she is just so genuine. I mean, she is really a model student athlete.
Yeah, she's an outstanding individual, and I know that in all the 4 years that I've had working with her in terms of women's soccer, you know, just a treat to work with. And the one thing that's interesting, and you watch that short interview, and she's so nice and sweet, and you put her on a soccer field, and I tell you what, you don't want to mess with her. So you know, she's got a huge competitive drive, and I'm sure that anything that she does in the future, she's going to be highly successful.
Indeed. That's going to do it for the Cardinals Nest here on HBC. Thanks for watching here on TV 25.